Welcome to the Her Empowered Divorce Live show. I'm your host, Beverly Price. I'm the empowering divorce coach who guides you on your divorce journey. I prepare you for the complex process ahead every step of the way, from beginning to end and recovery afterward. My goal for this show is to empower you from the moment you are considering divorce to confidently move forward, avoid common mistakes, and have the most successful divorce possible. Most women were raised to invest in everyone: husbands, children, family, and friends, with both time and money, but not ourselves. Yet we will invest significant time and money planning our weddings, but not our divorces. And these can have devastating lifelong impacts. That's why I'm so passionate about investing in ourselves. My guests today, Catherine Shanahan and Karen Chellew of My Divorce Solution, are going to talk with me about investing in yourself in your divorce. Hi, Catherine. Hi, Karen. I'm so glad to have you today.
Hi, Beverly. We love being with you, so thank you for inviting us.
Hello.
How you doing?
We're good, and I have so much to say just about your intro. It opens up so much conversation. You hit so many nails on the head. It was great.
Awesome. So, could you each tell us a little bit about yourselves, your company, and each of your roles in what you do?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm Catherine Shanahan. I had been a financial planner since 1988. I got married to someone who had 3 children under the age of 5. And then we had 2 of our own. So I raised a
Wow.
blended family. After 23 years of marriage to an aggressive personality, I decided that I something had to be better. So I got a divorce. But at that time, I thought I would just help women understand their finances through the
Mhm.
divorce process, because I just could not believe if I was scared, there had to be millions of women scared. And quickly realized it was more than just the financial. It was how the legal system treat you as well. I had known Karen through a colleague and went to her and said, would you join forces so that we can make this a better process? On my divorce, although financially it was clear, the agreement that I had some holes in it and led me into the courtroom 10 years after my divorce was final. So that's another important feature, and that's the side that Karen comes from. Karen, I'll let you take it away there and talk about yourself.
Okay. All right. Yes, my divorce was very different than Catherine. I was very young, 30 years old, but had been married 10 years. And it was a very difficult decision because I lived in the Bible Belt, where you just don't leave a
Oh,
marriage, especially at that age.
yes.
So, I thought I would be okay because I worked at a law firm and I had the best attorneys available to me, but it was a very difficult road. Not only disconnecting from my family, but also navigating the divorce process with zero financial clarity. So when I got through my divorce and spending my $50,000 on the custody battle and separating what little assets we had, we probably spent more divorcing than we ever owned. I realized that there is a huge missing piece, and I too ended up in court defending my ex-husband's bankruptcy. That was ended up to be my responsibility because my name was never taken off the business. So when Catherine came to me, I was ready to do something different. I had spent 30 years in the legal industry by that point as a paralegal and firm administrator. I knew litigation and I knew the gap between financial clarity and legal requirements. And there's a huge gap. And if you've gone through the divorce process, you've probably experienced it. And so that's why we created our company, My Divorce Solution, to really help people understand that preparation is the critical first step, or the step at any place you are in the divorce process. If you haven't done it, it's time to start and prepare and move forward. It makes a difference.
Absolutely. So, if we jump a little bit to the topic of the show, Why do you both think investing in yourself is so important in divorce?
Wow. If you don't invest in yourself, you're not making smart decisions. And at the end of the day, everyone goes home and you are stuck sitting in your room by yourself, moving forward. And you can't undo those decisions that you made. So all
Yeah.
these people who are saying, oh, I'll take care of this for you, even your spouse, I'll always take care of you, or your attorney, oh, I'm doing the best for you, or I'm doing this for you. If they're doing the best for you, then they want you to be financially clear. And yes, do you have to pay a professional to help you become financially clear? Yeah, you do. And so anyone that tells you that you should not do that, they're telling you you're not worthy of that information, that you're not smart enough to hold financial information in your own hands. And shame on them, because whether you have a bad relationship with money or a good relationship with money, or if you've never taken care of money or you've always taken care of money, this is a stressful process. And so you have the smarts, you have the ability to get this information, and no one should tell you you shouldn't.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I agree with that. And, I think a lot of people just do not understand that investing in yourself, especially in divorce, is so important, because if you don't, you're going to be paying the monster of the divorce process, is essentially what it is. And then you're still going to have to circle back and do something different, or you're going to end up with an inability to support yourself and your kids and having financial knowledge moving forward. A lot of people don't really, I think, to your point, Beverly, investing in yourself and getting good emotional support and good financial clarity is, while it may seem like you can't really see the tangibles in the moment, but they're there. And it's really like doing surgery on yourself and not hiring a surgeon. It's that important to make sure that you make the best decisions during this process, because there is impact for the rest of your life.
Absolutely. So, I usually recommend that the core divorce team consists of a divorce coach, the divorce financial professional, and the legal professional, whether it's an attorney or a mediator. Why do you think a divorce team is so critical to a person that's going through divorce?
Well, if you're a sports fan out there, can you imagine if your team ran out there without a coach, without a leader, a captain? What would happen? Everybody would be running all over the field thinking they knew what was best. And where would the football be, or the soccer ball, or where would a dance go if you don't have someone choreographing the dance, So it's the same thing with divorce. Asking for help does not imply that you're weak. And everyone has a specialty.
So true.
Right? And so it takes more courage to invest in yourself and get that help. And overall expenditure is reduced if you are adequately being supported.
That's
Everyone,
such a good point. Yeah.
right? And everyone should be complimenting their services to the end result of their client. We all work for the client. We all work for the person who's hiring us. They don't work for us. So if we can't all work together, you're with the wrong team. But you need a team in this. We have CEOs of huge corporations that come to us, because when it's you going through it, it's too emotional to make decisions. You overlook something that you think might be so little, but 5 years later you say, "Holy crap! I looked over that because I was a little blurry there, and I didn't have another set of eyes pointing that out." You can't undo this. And then how do you move on with your life if you have so much regret there?
Right.
Yeah.
I think that an example of that is, imagine that when you combine the coach and the financial professional and compare it to, do you want your attorney to manage your emotions, to prepare you for the process, to guide you, and to help you analyze your financial position? Think about you're paying an attorney $500 an hour or more. If this team could just save you 10 hours, that's $5,000 that you could save. And usually it's a lot more time than that. So Catherine is so right that while on the outside you might think this team is more people and more expense, it's actually much less expense in the long run. Karen, do you have any comment on that?
Well, I typically have a conversation with our clients coming in, how important it is to be prepared emotionally, physically, and financially. And there are three different types of preparation, because emotionally, to your point, you have to be able to separate the reason you're divorcing from the logistics and the financial decisions you have to make. So of course, a divorce coach is so helpful in that area. And then logistically or physically, do I stay in the home? Do I leave? What do I do? What's the next court date, or what am I up against legally? That's physically prepared. And then financially prepared is obviously understanding what you have, what you own, what you can afford, what your future may potentially look like for you, and then making decisions based on that. We just had a recent client come through, and they're ready to go to mediation. And she said, I just have a few questions. And she really thought she just had a few questions. But by the time she went through our assessment, first of all, she realized she needed a coach and wasn't managing her emotions, because every other day she's going back to her attorney to change her mind. Then she's asking me, do I, move back into my home? She had moved out. She had made all of these impulsive decisions and realized that maybe she hadn't situated herself in a way that was going to benefit her moving forward. So, we took the time to break it down and say, these are the people that can help you. Let's back it up and move forward. And so that, for that reason, it is important. And she probably realizes that, the first $50,000 that's out the door in the first 3 months could have been redirected to better help. But, she's redirecting her ways now and moving forward. But, that's why we're always beating the drum of getting the right help, getting set, being knowledgeable about your next steps moving forward.
Absolutely. You mentioned your assessment. Can you describe for people a little bit more about your process so they can understand that it's so much more than just a simple financial analysis or an Excel spreadsheet?
Sure. So our process is very educational. We do it with you, not for you. And it starts with an assessment, because fees is a fixed fee, but it's based on the complexity of your estate. So when you come through and take an assessment, you will be speaking with a lead advisor, going through the components of your estate, which many people don't even know what the components are, even if they're well into the divorce. They don't understand the complexity of what they're trying to decide. So during that assessment call, we break it down, and it's very clear what you have and what the issues are. And from there, we set a fixed fee so that we can then engage with you to help you understand what's marital and separate, or community and separate property, what your division scenarios may be, what your budget is, how to fill out a financial disclosure. How many people have just been handed that document to fill out without understanding what every line item means? And that is critical information. And then considerations to help people understand, for every asset and debt you're dividing, it's more than just getting 50% or 55%. There's more things you have to negotiate and be aware of to get a good, solid financial agreement. So all of that is wrapped up with a bow in a document called a divorce financial portrait that you can use with your mediator. You can share with your spouse. You can take it to your attorney, or you can just use it as your cliff notes when you're working with your entire divorce team.
Absolutely. Catherine, I've heard so many of my clients say that their spouse comes to them and says, oh, you don't need a financial analysis. You don't need all this paperwork. Here's what I can give you. Let's just settle on this. Is that a warning sign?
Yes. Yes. Sometimes it's not about what we need, it's about what we want. And if you want financial clarity, then you don't need permission for someone to tell you what you need, right? So if you back that up, that same spouse probably didn't ask you about purchasing a car or spending money outside of the marriage, even though they didn't really need to do that, right? So if you are questioning anything financially, then you need financial clarity and you need to invest in yourself. So you can say, I appreciate your input there, but I have my own opinion on that, and then get the information that you need. So please, if you take anything away from this, you do not need permission to get financial clarity. It is your right to know what is rightfully yours, and you can only do that based on data, not on emotions.
Absolutely. And it's also, I think it's a sign that somebody might not want you to have financial clarity. What do you think, Karen?
Absolutely, because it's control, right? So, when a spouse comes, because we have over a 90% participation rate from a spouse, even those aggressive spouses do participate in our process. And that's really valuable to our clients. So, if they're saying that they'll take care of you and that they'll give you all the information, and why would you pay $5,000 or what have you to get financial clarity? Then you say, thank you. Where's the data, the documents to support this? Anybody can write a number on any kind of Excel worksheet. And then if you get that documentation and you're not clear still, because that documentation isn't always thorough. I'll see someone get a statement that has 30 pages and all we get is page 2 and 4. Well, what happened to the other 28 pages of that document, right? So no one gets to tell you what you need to look at. You need a full, complete documentation of every piece, every number that's being negotiated.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's so true. And I just want to add a little bit there because a lot of times I experience couples or our clients who are sometimes not the financial manager of the family, and they feel stuck because their spouse is telling them what to do and how to do it, and they feel like they're still being managed. And I look at it from a space of where they're doing what they always have done, right? They've always managed the money. You've always acquiesced to that. And so they're just behaving like they've always behaved. Now it's time for you to become informed and in the know and be at the table to make good negotiation decisions for yourself. And that sometimes helps people understand that it's not really good guy, bad guy. It's just you stepping into your power and understanding what you have and how that you're going to make that work for you moving forward. It's a whole, you're really learning a different language and creating a different relationship moving forward. And that is part of this process.
So true. Such good points. Do you find yourself encountering, kind of following on to what you said, Karen, do you find yourself encountering financial abuse? And if so, how do you deal with that? And how do you deal with the client?
Yeah, I think Catherine's going to have a little bit more to say than I am because she's really good in this space. But yes, we see financial abuse a lot in the form of, not being willing for anyone else to be in the know of what is shared property. So, and thinking that that is right and okay. I grew up in that type of environment, so I can really understand it. And as a person, I didn't even know that it was wrong. I just thought that's how it was. Certainly not that way now, but it is financial abuse, and there are steps to take, and that's part of our process is climbing out of that so that you can make better decisions for yourself.
Catherine, do you want to add anything to that?
This is something that really is disturbing to me because nobody should be in a financially, emotionally, or physically abusive relationship. And we never talk about the financial abuse standpoint of it. And it also goes hand in hand with the emotional value to an asset or a debt, which is really important when it comes to negotiations, right? So if you are controlled by a credit card, I can't tell you how many 30-year marriages that come to us and say, well, I don't know, I've only ever been allowed to use a credit card and I have no idea about anything else. And if I spend more than X amount, I have to account for that. And I get being on a budget. I don't get being controlled by a credit card, not having access to an account, not knowing the password to account, not sitting in on a financial planning appointment with your financial planner, not sitting with your CPA because they think that you don't need to, that you're too busy raising the kids or doing something else, that we're taking care of this. But, financial abuse is something that you can stop by just not by demanding the information or setting up your own account. And on that regard, I will say that we have people that come through our process thinking that they want a divorce because they're just so financially controlled. And at the end of the day, when they get their financial portrait, it is a big financial misunderstanding as well. And that the other party just assumed they wanted to be controlled financially, right? So I'm all open to giving both sides the opportunity to lay all the cards out on the table. And if that is truly the case, then you take your financial portrait and use that for future planning and then go to marriage counseling, right? And this is where a coach is great because it's teaching you to have that strength to get that power, to get that knowledge, and then work on your marriage if you want to. Otherwise, stop the process and don't go into a new relationship until you reestablish a relationship with money, and don't ever be embarrassed about starting from ground zero. And that means getting a document and seeing numbers on it and saying, okay, where's the account number? Take control one step at a time, but don't ever live your life being controlled financially. It's not fair. And that's not what marriage is intended to be.
Absolutely.
Financial autonomy is so critical for everyone. And I just want to underscore that a lot of times that when people start taking steps towards financial autonomy, the need for a divorce coach becomes so important, because the other spouse, you can expect they're going to react in line with that. They're going to be taken off guard. They're going to be aggressive. They're not going to understand your new behavior. They're going to feel threatened and intimidated. And that's probably par for the course. Beverly, you would know more about that than we do. However, it doesn't mean you shouldn't take the steps. It still is important and very critical that you have financial autonomy.
Absolutely. And I think you made such a good point about needing to do the work, needing to look at your relationship with money, needing the self-awareness about yourself, or otherwise you're going to go from one relationship to the next and finding yourself in very similar situations, repeating the same mistakes. So I think all of that is so true. So true.
We'll have people come to us and say, oh my gosh, your fee was $6,500. How am I going to pay that? My spouse is going to get so angry. And in the second breath, they say, my spouse spent $20,000, with a girlfriend, or my spouse just bought a new car for $50,000, or my kids are getting married and it's costing $100,000 or $50,000. And I want to say, wait, let's stop and restate everything that you just stated. You're insecure, sad, lonely feeling because you don't have any financial clarity. But yet you're worried about a $6,500 clarity that's going to pay you 3 times over in the divorce process. And they really have to think, I'm not going to talk somebody into what they need, but it's what you said in your intro. We put women tend to put everyone before them and spend thousands and thousands of dollars on their kids.
Yep.
I mean, I think about the Beanie Babies I spent money on when my kids were little without thinking. And I still have a box of them. I wish I had that $1,000 from the Beanie Babies, right? They didn't need that. So we put everybody before us, and you can't make the rest of your life the best of your life if you don't make smart financial decisions for yourself. So
on target. I mean, I really think that's an excellent comment, and it kind of feeds into a thought that I've had about how women have been programmed over the generations to think about our relationship with money and numbers. You know, the thoughts that women aren't good with math, men are better with math, women can't understand finances, they're so complex. Men are more intelligent when it comes to finances. So I leave all of that up to him. I've seen it happen with women who didn't go to college or didn't take a lot of math, but I've also seen it in the highest executive level women who defer or give over all their control of money to their spouse, and then have to live with the result of they have no clue with what the spouse did with the money. Do you guys see that playing a part in the clients that come to you?
Absolutely. And you know what? You should be listening. If you're just thinking divorce and your husband, it's not just divorce and your husband passes away. The chances are women out there, 98% of us will deal. I think it's a high rate. It might not be 98, so don't quote that. But it's over 70% of women will deal with their finances, whether it's the death of a spouse or a divorce. So you do have to be aware of it. Now, I'm a lucky one because I was raised by there were 4 girls and 1 boy in my family, and my father was an accountant. So he always said, you girls are never going to be dependent on a man. My mom did the bills, even though my dad was an accountant. My mom gave him an allowance every week. So I grew up seeing that. I have a different story than Karen was telling you earlier. So I think that's where my passion comes from, is like, you have to know this. Like, this is how I was raised, so I can share it. Like, you have to know that you need to take care of yourself. And I don't care if you're a high executive or you've just graduated high school, you can learn your financial situation. As a matter of fact, our prenups now, our financial portrait even works for prenups. It's just a great way to get the documentation. And it's not just the data, it's the documentation, and it's understanding all the components to that. And again, it's taking it one step at a time, but you can do this for yourself.
Oh, I love that. And mentioning prenups, if you think about it, 50% of first marriages end in divorce. And a lot of people say, oh, I'm not going to do a prenup, that jinxes the marriage, whatever. But averages show 50% of first marriages end, 67% of second, and 75% of third marriages result in divorce. So a prenup is a perfect insurance policy for your future. And it really is more a testament of how secure you are in your relationship that you may not ever have to use it. So do you have people coming to you thinking about getting married or initially getting married, and you talk to them about prenups and postnups?
Yes,
we do. Oh, go ahead, Karen. Go ahead. You want me to go?
Go ahead, Karen.
Yeah, go ahead. I do want to say something, but yes, we do. Go ahead, though, Catherine.
Oh, yeah, we do. It's a really healthy way. Listen, finances are. I'm not trying to sugarcoat this in any way. Money is a hard thing, and finances are a hard thing to talk about, because it is true. I happen to be blessed with a math mind. My ex was a math mind. My kids are math minds. And I've been with my friends who struggle with their kids and math and themselves. So I understand all that. But this is not about just doing math. This is about understanding the money that you have that's working for you, and working with the right people to help you, and just being involved and aware of the situation around you, right? Being in tune with your budget and what you're actually what's coming in, what's going out. It's an awareness. It's not necessarily that you're going to stand up and talk about it in front of a bunch of people. So don't be scared about that. The prenup scenarios with us is that we're not attorneys. So we don't look at it from an attorney point of view. We look at it from an expectation point of view. And, you talked again earlier about weddings. My daughter got married 3 years ago. I see what my friends are spending on their weddings right now. And everyone is talking about the food and the budget and the dress and this and that. Nobody's talking about what are the expectations of the two parties going into this. You're both, most kids are both working. So you have the two incomes. Well, I remember saying to my daughter, what if you don't want to work when you have kids? What if your husband doesn't want to work and he wants to be a stay-at-home? Have you two discussed that? Have you discussed a joint budget? Nobody wants to discuss that. They're so afraid to bring it up because it brings so much tension to the table, right? But they'll talk about sex all day long. They'll get mad if you don't have sex one day, because that, if you say you have a headache, that's supposed to be a big thing. But what if you want to talk about finances? There should be a safe space in your relationship to talk about that, because then how will you know what your expectations are when the tough stuff arises? So instead of spending your money about all the dress and all that, talk about, do we need a prenup here? And sometimes it's your parents that need the prenup for you because they have estates that they're afraid about. So respect your parents a little bit. Take it in that regard too. Or just say, I want to talk about our expectations and make sure we're on the same page here. It's just as important as your religion and anything else that you're talking about. Probably actually more important is your financial life.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's so true.
I love the going back, the comment you made that 90% of your clients involve the spouse in the process. I think that's amazing. What do you do with the other 10% if the spouse isn't forthcoming with the information that's needed to complete the financial picture?
So most of our clients are surprised as to how much information and documentation they actually have access to. So let's just start there. They think they don't have access, but they do have access. They just need to know the pathway to that access. So once we go through that exercise with them and help them understand how to get it, sometimes we have to get on the phone with them to get it. But once they have it, then we can identify the documentation that is probably missing. And in this age of technology, it's not that difficult to find. So from there, we will list it on the portrait that this documentation is missing. And if they need to go to an attorney, or if we reach out to the spouse again and they go to an attorney, usually that attorney will tell them, you will save money by engaging in this process. But even if not, we've limited the enormous gap of discovery that everyone goes through. The financial discovery is the most expensive part of divorce. It's like spreading a net to gather all the fish. But we can just help you focus on the documents that are really necessary to complete the assessment and then go from there. And it at least limits the scope.
That's great. Catherine, do you have something you want to add to that?
No, I think Karen hit it nail on the head. If we have to wait for information, we wait for information. And unfortunately, 1% of the cases will go to litigation. And if you have to wait on subpoenas, you have to wait on subpoenas. But I always find it interesting that even that 10% that do not want to participate, after $50,000 into it with your other attorney, they come back.
Yeah.
They come back and they want to participate because, truth be told, I say this all the time. I say it to Karen, probably. I'm sorry, Karen. I probably say this to you 1,000 times a day. But why do we need two attorneys collecting the same data? It just doesn't even make logistical sense to me, right?
Right.
The only reason why you need that is because one side is trying to do something different than the other side, in my opinion, right? So if we could gather that information, why would you not want to come through one streamlined process to gather the information and then have a symmetry among information to provide to your attorneys for them to do their strategy based on the law of what you have, right? Then you could just argue about what each of you want, and you both have to compromise. So this really doesn't have to be as difficult as this industry has made it.
Right. And it's
Yeah, I
all in
like.
that it's all in that exercise of financial autonomy, right? So first you're
Mhm.
you know what you have. And I'm very much involved in the document collection process in my role as legal liaison. And I'll educate my clients to just hold off nitpicking your spouse about, I need this, I need that. Why won't you give me this? Just stop and figure out what you have and what you need, and then deliver that request in a sophisticated way where it's clear that you're taking steps for yourself and you're becoming in the know. And then you're becoming a force to be respected and a force to be dealt with. And it's very different relationship than nitpicking and arguing, and then it just escalates where you don't need to have those conversations. And again, that's where a divorce coach comes in to help manage that, because I can only say it. I don't know how to help manage it, but I can see that it needs to be done so that everyone has the best opportunity to get through this with the least amount of adversity.
Oh my God, Karen, that reminds me, Beverly, this is a story from just yesterday. We're on with an attorney and a client. They're both spouses are in 100 grand with their attorneys because they're just so combative with each other. And they get so caught up in this, and then they're on the eve of a trial. Like, we do have some cases that have to go to trial, right? So we just work with their attorney with the financial piece. And listening to them talk, it came to the point about a car. They had one car that was worth maybe $15,000. And immediately our client says to her attorney, no, I want that. Because she said, what about the car? No, she's not getting that. I'm not splitting that. And I'm listening. And I had to turn to our client on Zoom and say, do you really want to fight over the car that's $8,000 on your side? Or do you just, and she goes, no. She needed a little reset about what the dollar value actually was that she was talking about, because she started to get into the emotional part of the negotiation. And her attorney is just going by what she wants, right? That's what the attorney has to do. Like, what do you want? And so then she said, no, I don't care about the car, right? Because that would have been a whole nother $10,000 battle there for a $19,000 car. So know what you have and what you need to compromise on, and save your battles. My mom always taught me, pick your battles when raising the kids, right? And this is the same thing. You know, when we go through a division scenario, you're going to know your best case scenario, your next best case, and when you know the one that you can walk away with, that you'll probably walk away with and be okay with. And when you know that, you're making smart financial decisions.
Yeah, I think if I encourage clients to think about, every argument has a ticking clock. And so, is your argument worth that $500 an hour? And I think that gives them perspective.
Yeah, that's great.
But Karen and Catherine, thank you so much for being with me today. This has been so informative, and I know the listeners are going to learn a lot. So, and I know they're going to want to know more about you. So how can they find you?
So they can go to our website, mydivorcesolution.com. There you can find where to take a free assessment. You'll find information about the MDS community, where you get tons of resources, and where our former clients and current clients all kind of reside and have a community. It's all financially speaking. We have WeChat Divorce Podcast. We're on all the social media channels, and we really look forward to learning more about you.
Awesome. And again, thank you for being my guest today. It has been a pleasure.
Thank you for having us, Beverly.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And I'd like to give a special shout out, thank you to our sponsor, SoberLink, who works in the area of alcohol monitoring systems. So many divorces, and I think it's upwards of 24% of divorces cite alcohol abuse as a major cause of the divorce. SoberLink provides alcohol monitoring technology to determine not only is the spouse sober, but also protects your children. And thank you for being with us today on Her Empowered Divorce Live. With the right support and guidance, you can move through the divorce process with knowledge, skills, and confidence. And I can help you navigate the process, come to terms with your emotions, avoid costly mistakes, Find your true voice and be empowered. Most women, as we've said earlier, have spent a lifetime investing in others while neglecting themselves, and divorce is not a time to do that. If you're interested in learning more, schedule a free consultation at herempowereddivorce.com to learn how to save time, money, and heartache. Until next time, take care and stay empowered. Substance abuse is at the root of 40 to 60% of domestic violence incidents. This alarming statistic highlights why we need tools that promote sobriety and safety in our households. SoberLink is a breathalyzer system that helps people prove sobriety, keeps children safe, and provides peace of mind through scheduled testing, real-time results, and immediate notifications. If someone with a history of alcohol issues is working on their sobriety and rebuilding trust with their family, SoberLink can serve as a tool to ensure safety and provide transparency. As we shine a light on domestic violence this October, let's remember that solutions to such complex problems require comprehensive approaches. Tools like SoberLink can play a part. Let's work together to end domestic violence and support recovery in all its forms. Visit soberlink.com/end-abuse to learn more and receive $50 off a device.